Donald and Douglas are Scottish twins. They are proud to be working on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Donald has a number 9, and Douglas has a number 10. The twins like to work hard. But sometimes they argue. But like all the engines, they still like to be really useful. One morning, Donald and Douglas were resting in a siding when Sir Topham Hatt came to see them. Henry hit a bump on the track and he's derailed. Donald and Douglas, I need you two to be rescue engines and help him, said Sir Topham Hatt. But why? Asked Donald. I can do this on my own, said Douglas. Now, said Sir Topham Hatt. Both of you need to do it. I can do it myself, said Douglas. No, Dougie, said Donald. You'll need my help. I do not need your help, said Douglas crossly. Yes, you do. No, I don't. You do. Do not. Okay, that's enough arguing, said Sir Topham Hatt. Just work together. Then Donald and Douglas puffed away. You know, Dougie, said Donald, I'm really excited to be a rescue engine. Me too, said Douglas. And the twins kept puffing on. At last, Donald and Douglas arrived to where Henry was. Don't worry, Henry, said Douglas. I'll pull you back on the tracks. So Douglas coupled up to Henry, and Douglas heaved and hauled. He tried pushing Henry. Then there was trouble. Henry's driving wheels came off the tracks. Bother, said Douglas crossly. Donald puffed up. Well, Dougie, you'll need my help, said Donald crossly. No, Donny, said Douglas crossly. I could do this on my own. I must go and shunt Henry back on the tracks. And the two engines puffed back to go shunt Henry. The twins were arguing all over the countryside. I can do this on my own. I don't need help, said Douglas. Yes, you do, said Donald. I don't. You do. I don't. You do. Then Donald and Douglas arrived to go help Henry. Don't worry, Henry. I'll shunt you back on the tracks, said Douglas. Douglas buffered up behind Henry, and Douglas heaved and hauled. His wheels spun and spun. Almost there, Henry! Then there was trouble. Henry's back wheels came off the tracks, and now Henry was completely derailed. Bother, said Douglas crossly. Donald was very cross. I told you need my help, he said crossly. I don't need your help, said Douglas crossly. I can do this on my own. Watch me. So then Douglas backed up, and Henry waited. Then Douglas pumped his pistons. Here I come, Henry, said Douglas. Then there was trouble. Douglas bumped Henry with a biff and a bash and a terrible crash. Douglas and Henry both came off the tracks. Henry was surprised. Douglas felt terrible. I'm not the rescue engine. I'm not the hero. I'm just a silly engine. Donald puffed crossly up. I told you needed my help, said Donald crossly. It's your fault, said Douglas. No, it isn't. It's your fault. You're the one who came off the tracks. No, it's your fault for wanting to help. Okay, enough arguing, said Henry crossly. If you guys worked together, this wouldn't have happened. Donald and Douglas felt very ashamed of themselves. Yes, it is both of our faults, said Donald. I'm very sorry, said Douglas. Yes, very sorry indeed, said Donald. Please, Donny, I need your help now. Will you help me? Asked Douglas. Of course I will, said Douglas. I am happy to help. And then Donald went to go get Rocky. And together, the two friends, Thomas and Donald, went to go help Douglas and Henry back on the tracks. At last, they arrived with Rocky to go help the two engines back on tracks. With a mighty heave and a mighty haul, Henry was lowered back onto the tracks. Thank you, Donny. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Rocky, said Douglas. Anytime, said Rocky. So together, Donald and Douglas were fine rescue engines. They shunted and shoved Duck under the coal hopper when he had run out of coal. They also brought Percy to the repair yard when he had broken down. And they also helped Gordon up the hill when he got stuck with his express. Later that day, Donald and Douglas were resting in the siding. "Thank you for your help, Donny," said Douglas. "Anytime, Dougie," said Donald. Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "You two have been working very hard, so you two are really useful engines," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Thank you, sir," said Douglas. And Donald and Douglas were happy to be friends again.